Hey everyone, this is the Spoondude back with another video. This time we're doing a special video as I finally surpassed 2,000 subscribers and I wanted to do something special. I asked you guys on my community tab on my channel and you guys voted for a collection video of all of my Spider-Man figures. Now of course, as you can see right now, these are not Spider-Man figures, these are Spider-Man villains. This video will show off all of my Spider-Man collection including the villains, and I figured we'll start here. We'll do the Spider-Man figures for last. So the first figure, I think this is my most recent one too, is actually the Vulture right here. And this is from, I believe, the Demo Goblin Build-A-Figure wave, or Hobgoblin wave. It's a pretty relatively new figure. I do like his wings. His head sculpt is fantastic. Look at that old guy. But the only problem with this figure is the wings came off really easily, so I ended up just gluing them to his arms. Don't love the paint effect on his torso. He's supposed to have lines all across his costume, but Hasbro just had them painted only at the top. And while the shading is kind of cool, it's really not consistent. And then over here to the right, we have Marvel Legends Carnage. He is from the Ultimate Green Goblin Build-A-Figure wave. I really like this figure. I remember having to get it online because he was hard to find on retail. And he's a very simple figure. He's just the Bucky Cap body mold with, you know, the hands and head and all the tendrils. But it works, and I love the colors on him, and I think that head sculpt is a really great representation of that classic Carnage. So, yeah. And then another one from the Ultimate Green Goblin Build-A-Figure wave. Here's Black Cat, and I think this is a really great figure for two reasons: the sculpt and the paintwork. And then let's go from this side. Here's my custom Mysterio. I did a full-on video on him, so no need to get into too much detail about him. We'll see if I'll get the official one that comes out later this year, but if not, I'm still happy with this one. And up front here, this is the Onslaught Wave Green Goblin. This is from Toy Biz, actually, and I think it's a really, really great figure. Hasbro is coming out with a new one in the Retro Wave, and that one looks pretty good, but honestly, I think I'm just going to stick with this version. Really, really love the sculpt work on him. I think that head sculpt is perfect. It looks just like how he does in the comics and even in the animated series, I think. And even the detail of the scales on him is great. The articulation's pretty solid. You can get him in a good crouching pose. And yeah, this is not the glider that he came packed with in the package. I bought him loose on eBay for a decent price, but he didn't come with the glider. This is actually from a 2008, I want to say, Hasbro like comic series Goblin. That figure was not super articulated, but I did like his glider, and I did repaint the glider to look a little bit more, you know, worn and detailed. Yeah, so that's my Goblin. But speaking of that old Green Goblin figure, I did want to show, this is my custom Green Goblin from a few years ago, and he is in bad shape, and he looks terrible, which is why I had to replace him with the official one. And then over here off screen is the Toy Biz Spider-Man Classics Shocker. Now, unlike the Green Goblin, this figure by Toy Biz does not have great articulation, mainly because he has gimmicks that remove his ab crunch and elbow articulation. This I still bought him because one, he was cheap, and two, I really love the sculpt and paintwork on him. I mean, just like the texture of the suit and all of the washes kind of on it, I think really make it stand out in terms of it, like the aesthetic. And I think it's a good looking Shocker. I have thought about customizing his arms to get some elbow joints in there, maybe like just switching the bicep down with another figure. So don't be too surprised if I end up doing that and making a video about it. But yeah, there's Shocker. Until Hasbro makes a better, you know, more classic looking Shocker, this will be the Shocker that'll be on my shelf. And then up front here is my custom Electro. Now I've done a couple of videos on this figure already. I made an Electro years ago. Unfortunately, it didn't look great the first time, so I did try updating it a second time to make it look, you know, better. And even then, it still wasn't great. So I reworked it for a third time. I gave him, you know, the larger, more comic book accurate mask. and I repainted him so that he was more classic inspired. You can see he has the full green bodysuit now. So there's my updated custom Electro. Hopefully I won't have to update him again. I think I'm pretty happy with how he looks. I know there's an official Electro, like a classic Electro, coming out anyways, so this might be replaced by the end of the year, but I think I'm happy with it for now. Here is the Spider-Man Classics Kraven the Hunter. I got this figure for like a decent price on eBay, and pretty much got him to complete the Sinister Six. He's not the best figure. I know Hasbro's more modern figures are probably, you know what, are definitely better. But I still like the look of this. I love the head sculpt. I think looks very much like classic, old school Kraven, and I think the vest piece looks great. And even though he's a bit skinny and his head doesn't match the skin tone of his torso, I think he fits well with the Spider-Man villains, and is a decent Kraven to have. And then here is my two Venom figures. You can see I do have my custom one. I made a full video. On my custom one already, so you can check that out. It's a little old at this point, but I still say just watch it. And then here is the Toy Biz Spider-Man Classics one that I bought again off eBay. I know I have this custom one, but I mean, I can't really beat this Toy Biz one. I think this one's great. I did have to repaint his face a little bit because the way it came, the paint was a little bit worn. And I think I did a decent job at that. Yeah, it's a pretty great figure. He has great articulation, and the joints are actually in better quality than my custom, which has kind of loose hips. I should probably tighten them with the string thing, but that's for another time. I guess I really just like the proportions of this Toy Biz one. He's very hulking, very muscular, compared to my custom one, which was on that movie Venom body. So he has kind of weird proportions. His arms are really lanky, and yeah, I just think this Toy Biz one has a better kind of shape overall. And as you can see on my custom, I did try to give him a texture, but it's obviously a lot more refined, or rather, it's a lot more defined on the Toy Biz one, and looks a lot, cooler overall. So yeah, there's my custom Venom versus the official one. Obviously this one has the big old button and stuff, but I still think it's one of the best Venom figures that are out there. I don't love the modern Venom figures by Hasbro. I mean, they look good enough, and they would match my Carnage figure a little bit better, but I don't know, there's just something really appealing about this one that I like. Yeah. Another custom versus official comparison here. Here is my custom Scorpion, did a video on him, and here is an official Scorpion. You can see they're very different. Obviously this is a classic comic book version. This is more kind of Ultimate inspired. I used a Marvel Legends Beetle from the Ultimate Green Goblin wave, and a USB light wire for his tail. And I still think this looks pretty good. It's not in the greatest shape because of storage and stuff, and I should probably fix it up a little bit. You can see it has this red splotch. That's actually on purpose from when I was making the Scorpion versus Spider-Man stop motion. Remember when I made stop motions? But yeah, I never removed it. This is from when he got shot. But anyways, that's that Scorpion. I think he looks fine, but as I was buying a little bit more Spider-Man villains recently, I wanted to have a more classic looking Scorpion. And yeah, that's why I got this Toy Biz one. I know Hasbro has made classic Scorpion recently. It just has a different face in this. That figure looks good enough, especially the tail and the articulation look pretty good on that figure. My only problem is I didn't love the proportions, and I really like the presence that this Toy Biz one has with the hulking shoulders and slightly smaller head. Makes him look more kind of imposing and villainous. And yeah, I just like the way this one looked more, especially all the shading and stuff. So that's why I got this one over the Hasbro one. Here is the Marvel Legends Fearsome Foes Rhino. I got this again loose off eBay, and I think this is a great figure. I love the sculpt work. Again, Toy Biz with all of the textures and the paint detail. Hasbro made a more modern Rhino, but I don't know, I just love the more kind of old school look of this one, and especially the head sculpt. I think this is a great Rhino head sculpt. And also, of course, this was actually cheaper to find on eBay than the Build-A-Figure, so that's a bonus too. So I kept pointing to him, so here is the Ultimate Green Goblin Build-A-Figure. This is the only Build-A-Figure that I've ever completed till now, surprisingly. I think he's a pretty decent figure. He's basically just an Avengers Hulk with new arms, feet, and head to be Ultimate Green Goblin. And he's good, I think. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of paint detail, and you know, the colors are a little bit dark, but that's kind of comic accurate, I guess. Yeah, he's not the greatest figure, but I'm still happy about him, and the fact that he's like my first Build-A-Figure, I think that you know, just has some value to me. So of course I did do that stop motion with the Ultimate Spider-Man once, so, and that was like probably my first like big video that got a lot of views, you know, relative to my channel, a lot of views. Yeah, so I'll always have kind of a fondness for this figure, even though it's not super great. Here's another custom. This is my Marvel Legends custom Lizard from an Amazing Spider-Man movie Lizard. Again, a few years old at this point. His head sculpt is not the greatest. I mean, I think it's decent, but I could probably take another swing at it. We'll see though, I don't know. I feel like I don't really want to invest more time into this figure. I'm probably more likely to just buy an official one at this point. But yeah, I think he's decent standing there on my shelf as a Lizard, so yeah. So here is the Toy Biz Spider-Man Classic Sandman. I got him actually mint on card actually from eBay, and so I have all the accessories and everything, and I really love this figure. This is probably my favorite Spider-Man villain figure, maybe outside of Doc Ock there. The articulation is pretty great, but just the sculpt work on him I think looks really impressive. I really like the texture on him. It's like sand particle texture that is really fine, and I don't know, just makes him stand out. And you have this great dry brushing of some sandy color there, and that head sculpt I think is pretty great as well. For some reason I want to say it reminds me of the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series, like that cocky expression and, you know, the hair and everything, so I think that's awesome. And of course he has the interchangeable parts and everything, which make him a fun figure. And yeah, I really like this guy. Alright, so here's the final Spider-Man villain figure I have to show you guys. This is the Marvel Legends Doc Ock with some custom tentacles. Now, if you've been subscribed to me for a while, you might remember I did have a custom Doc Ock. I can't show you that right now because unfortunately I did dismantle it to get his tentacles and repurpose it for another custom. But yeah, this is, I guess, my spiritual successor to that, because it's a Doc Ock and I customized it. I basically did what pretty much everyone and their moms have done with this Doc Ock figure since it came out like maybe 2 years ago at this point. I replaced his crappy non-articulated tentacles with some USB light wires. I found some off Amazon for $5 a piece, which is a decent price, I guess. And they're quite long as well, so you get a lot of room to play with the tentacles and really do a lot here. As you saw, he could stand on 4 tentacles, and actually he could stand on 3 and sometimes 2 depending on how you pose them. And yeah, I think that's really just awesome. And yeah, now I have the Doc Ock figure that I actually wanted all these years later. So there's that. And yeah, that's all the Spider-Man villain figures, so we can move on to the Spider-Man figures themselves. And here are my Mary Jane and Jameson figures. They're not really Spider-Man villains or Spider-Man himself, so I just thought I'd show them separately. I have full videos on both of them up on my channel, so if you want to see more of them, make sure to see those videos. And here are all of my Spider-Man figures.